everybody, I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are having a good day today. Got a little bit of a different setup today. I hope y'all enjoy it, and I hope it's a little more focused and allows you to concentrate a little bit more on the words of what I'm saying and even the feeling of what I'm saying. So today I thought that I would go ahead and talk about something that I posted on the community tab, and you may have seen it today. It was a quote by Neville Goddard, and the quote was something to the effect of that everyone else is you pushed out. So what do y'all think about that concept? I kind of asked that in the comment section, in the community tab section, and I didn't have enough time to really see if there was any responses. But essentially what that is talking about is that everyone in your experience and basically everything else is you pushed out. So it's all coming from you. So how does that work? Well, I can tell you from my own experience that there is some truth to that. If not, that's the whole truth, really. But the whole thing about it is that what we perceive, what we see in our outside reality is really filtered through the lens that we hold. So what is your lens? What is it allowing you to see? Is it a cloudy lens? Is it a lens that's very negative, a very positive lens? Is it a lens that's been scratched and damaged? Is it a lens that no longer works? So what is the lens that you're looking through? That's the real question. So if you're seeing the world through the ultimate lens, which is your divine nature, and you hold all your power, you're harnessing all your power, and you know your divine nature, then you will see how that's possible. Now, if you're very limited, if you are looking through that scratched lens, then everything outside of you is going to be scratched as well. So it's all coming from you. If you see it that way, it makes a lot of sense. So if you're seeing everything through your divine nature, then you're going to see the beauty in everything. You're going to see the love in everything. You're going to see how special everything is. And you'll also see how you're influencing that based on how your energy is, how you are showing up at that moment. So it is all happening through you. So there is a lot of truth in that. So I wanted to talk about my own experience and what I've seen. So over the past year, different things have happened, different changes have occurred, but one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of the issues that I used to have, I don't have anymore. If anything, they just don't exist anymore. They don't happen anymore. They don't pop up anymore. They just don't enter this reality. So how is it so that issues that I had, let's say with my parents or with people that I would see on a regular basis, just don't happen anymore? They completely fell away. The arguments that would seem to happen every single time that we would meet no longer happen. How is it that that happens? How is it that stuff that my husband's been trying to work on for years hasn't happened in all those years, but suddenly it just happened? And how come things with my daughter have just gotten way better, and she's always been successful, but it's just been, everything's been accelerated. Everything is just moving faster and going smoother, and everybody's achieving their goals a lot quicker. So that's where I'm talking about this identity shifting, because I'm currently seeing just so many changes, not just with myself, but with those around me and those in my life. So if everybody else is me pushed out, well, if there's changes and things happening in me, then that would mean that all those changes and all of those things would also be reflected in the people around me and the situations around me. So, and that is the case. So, for example, I'll just go by and just share a little bit about what's been going on. So, things have just been returning to wholeness with me. There's just been a lot of things that are just healing, changing, and just turning into, basically, if there was a 2.0 version, it's becoming like a 4.0 version. So my health is getting better, health issues are going away, weight and like physical issues along with the health are going away, relationship issues are going away, everything's getting better with relationships, whether that's with my husband, with my family, with my friends, even with coworkers. So whereas before there used to always kind of seems to be issues at work, seems to be drama at work, things like that. Not anymore. There's no more drama. It's just happiness. It's everybody just comes in, does their work, leaves. things like that. It's a lot less light. It's a lot more light. So a lot less heavy. Everything is just flowing easily. There doesn't seem to be anything blocking, anything constructing or construing anything away or changing the course of things. Everything seems to be flowing in the right direction. Of course, I understand that the nature of reality is always changing and not everything is completely in my control, and it really isn't even in my control, but there is a version of me that I prefer more than the version I had. So that's where I choose to move into that space of that timeline where things are going a little more smoother. So that's where I'm at right now. And for example, in my marriage, I was having some issues with arguing, just your normal typical things, and all of that just kind of fixed itself. So we actually did take a conscious break in our relationship to kind of work on those things, and that was actually prior to my awakening. So that was prior to that, but it was very much needed. And after I had my awakening, everything changed. We became like so much more connected. We are able to talk about everything. We always had a very close relationship, but it's only gotten better. But some of the bigger changes that I've seen are within my husband's confidence with what he's doing, how he's achieving his goals and things. So he's a lot more confident. He sets boundaries with people, where before he was a big people pleaser. Now he's not a people pleaser at all. He sets very clear boundaries with people. He follows through on everything. He's providing a lot more in a lot of different ways. So basically, he's not just providing for our family. He's providing for church family. He's providing for work family. He's expanding in so many other different areas. So while he was kind of limited before in a lot of the ways that he was showing up, he's a lot more expansive now. And so one of the biggest changes that I've seen is with his own career. So for the longest time, he's worked at a place that he was going to inherit the business. And so he had been waiting for years to inherit this business. He had gone to the owners a few times recently because they're getting up in age and talking to them about the transition. And while talking to them about that, it didn't really ever seem that they were very eager to start the transition. And so I've told them over the years that he should really just go on his own instead of waiting for someone else to make this choice for him. So we were talking about all of this and how I was making videos on identity shifting and reality shifting and things like that. And we had talked about his goals and how certain things have manifested for me basically overnight. So while I think there's still a lot of things that, they do take some time to manifest, a lot of things can be manifested immediately. And some things that don't seem like they can be manifested immediately, like for example, what I'm about to talk about, do manifest immediately. So one of the things that I manifested was a car. I literally already had a car. I had 2 cars, but one of them broke down. And so I was driving another one. And I told my husband, I really don't feel comfortable. I don't feel that great about myself driving this other car. It was just not the car that I wanted to be driving. So I expressed that to him and I let him know. And it wasn't even the next day. He had already located another vehicle that he chose for me that I wouldn't have chose for me. It's a lot nicer vehicle than I would have ever chosen. Anyway, he told me, hey, if you want this vehicle, I found a vehicle, meet me at this dealership at this time. And I went and I literally manifested that vehicle overnight. So by the next day, that vehicle was mine. And I've never had a vehicle as nice as that one. And I've never had anybody else purchase me a vehicle. Of course, we're married, but we do keep things sort of separate. So it was very clear that he was buying this for me. So a lot of things just began to manifest a lot quicker. So while you think maybe a car might take time to manifest, or maybe a job might take time to manifest, these things can happen immediately, if not right away, maybe in a day or two. So one of the things that my husband manifested for himself was to actually have that business. So we were talking about how really there is no time, and anything that we want, we could literally have it now if we can align with it. And so he aligned with having his own business and just not really waiting anymore for the business owners. Either they were going to give him the business or he was going to start his own business. And within that same time, I think it was within a week, he had already started his own business, located the location of where it's going to be. He even has already purchased boats and things that he's going to sell and do things with there. And so everything's moving along like wonderfully. So basically, in the matter of minutes, he decided he was going to start his own business. And within that week, he lined up all his ducks in order, and he has his own business now. So the thing he's been waiting on for years, decades, he has now. And there was nothing stopping him except himself. So all this time, the excuse of waiting for the business owners to pass it to him was really all just like a made-up excuse. It wasn't real. It seems so real when we talk about it, things that going on at work, issues, goals. It seems so real, but it's really just so easy. It's so easy just to align with it and have it. So that's what I'm starting to realize, is how easy this can be. And while I always thought everything was hard, everything is becoming so easy, and it's just kind of a change of pace. Something that you have to embrace, because if you're not used to things being easy, you want to make them harder. And I'm trying to receive and embrace the easiness of how easy things come right now. So that's my husband. Now my daughter, she's an only child. She's always been very close to me, and she's always been very clingy, and she has a little bit of anxiety, and so she's kind of had that, and that's something that's been in our family, and it's just something that we've always had, and it's not something that we need to identify with or continue to have. So I've talked to my daughter about this, and so we were talking about all of this, and it came down to she's about to enter high school, and she wanted to be on the cheer team. Now, she hasn't been doing her gymnastics or dance or any of that stuff. I've tried to get her to go. She was very hesitant about it. A lot of it was her anxiety keeping her from that. Well, come to find out, she mustered up the courage to try out, and I was very nervous for her, but I kept in my mind that she was going to be a cheerleader. And I kept that positive mindset, and I could visualize her doing it. I could see her finding out that she made it and all these things. And she went and tried out, and she was super nervous, and she told me, she laughed, and she was kind of nervous, and she wasn't sure if she was going to make it. I was nervous for her too, because I can remember in my so-called memories of a time when I tried out for something and I didn't make it, and it really devastated me. I cried for days, so I was, in a way, deep down, a little bit nervous for her, but I continued to stay strong with my visualizations of her being a cheerleader, of her doing this. Of course, she did this, but it's all me pushed out, so it's all happening through me. So all the energy that I'm putting into it, she's benefiting from that. Same thing with my husband. So a lot of it is already happening through you. So the people around you can actually begin to manifest and benefit through you. And that's just by you manifesting and keeping your energy where it is aligned with the divine for all situations, even for those around you that don't recognize that they're divine. As long as you're aligned with that and you're with that, they will also reap the benefits. And you don't even have to do that, like visualize, like I did with my daughter, visualizing her being a cheerleader. You actually don't even have to do that. You just have to focus on you, focus on what you want, and everything else begins to just work out, okay? So it's like magic. Everything else begins to work out. I didn't consciously choose to improve my health. I didn't consciously choose to work on this area of my life or that area, or switch jobs or switch houses or switch cars, or any of these crazy changes that have happened. They've just all been happening to align themselves with that new timeline. The new timeline is a different version of myself. It's not the same version that was appearing before that had all of these things in that way and these struggles. Those struggles have fallen away. Now everything is easy. So everything is just aligning and happening. And for that to happen, many other things have to change. The people around me have to change, my environment, my home, my car, everything gets up-leveled. So that's what's happening right now. And if you're not ready for that, then it can be kind of scary, and it can be kind of, it will limit you in a way. So in some ways, I can explore my own self and see there's some things that I'm not ready to expand to. It seems too big for me. So although I'm aligned divinely to everything and see that I can have everything, the limited self is still wanting to tread lightly with certain things, because these changes are very uprooting. I mean, it changes your whole home, your whole life, everything. And although it's all moving in a positive direction, it's moving, it's change, it's energy. So it is taking energy from you, giving you energy, so many different things. And all of that, even if it's all positive, is a lot of emotion, a lot of change. And sometimes we aren't ready in our container or what we think is around us to make those big changes. So sometimes we have to go slow and we have to adjust to some changes and then move up a little bit and adjust to some changes. So anyhow, going back to everyone is me pushed out. So you can kind of see the changes with my husband and our relationship. So many things have changed as well, like just romantically and just in a lot of different ways. So it's almost like a whole new relationship. It's like what you always dreamed of. It just begins to happen. Same thing with my daughter. Now everybody talks about how teenagers are so much work, how they're always going against you, how they're always fighting, how they're selfish, how they're this and that, and these years are going to be horrible. I don't see it that way. I try to keep a positive mindset that my daughter and I are going to be best friends, that we're going to have a good relationship, that I'm going to be able to show her and teach her many of the things I think she needs to know at her age. I know that we're going to get along well. If we don't, I know that we're going to work our problems out and we're going to come out better for it. So I don't have or hold that mindset that teenagers are all of these things and do all of these bad things. No, my daughter is doing great. She talks to me. We share things. She has her friends over. We talk about her friends. We talk about, she's into boys. We talk about school. She made the cheer team. Now we're on to that. She's going to start high school. So I'm looking at everything as being positive, not negative, where, if you go ahead and claim that your teenager is going to be the worst thing ever and it's going to be so much work and it's going to be so crazy, then if you claim that, that's what's going to happen. So whatever you say and believe, that's what's going to happen. So all beliefs are limiting. All beliefs are not real. So whatever you believe is not real. So you're making it up and you're believing it and it's coming true. So, but there are no beliefs. There are nothing. It's nothing. So whatever you're believing, you get to choose because they're not real. All beliefs are false. The only belief that is real, the only thing that is real is what is, and that is the divine nature that you are, existing, changing, everything happening the way it happens. And that's just one divine source. You can call it energy, you can call it vibration, you can call it God. That is all there is. And that is basically like a shapeshifter into everything else, wanting to experience everything, like this big grand imagination, trying to love everything and see everything for itself. So anyhow, all of that is just happening through you. You have the control. So as soon as you decide that you're going to have a difficult teenager, you will have a difficult teenager. So I'd rather not decide that. I'd rather decide that I'm going to have a wonderful teenager and I'm going to grow closer to my daughter and that we're going to have a great relationship and she's going to continue to grow and flourish in all the ways that she wants to, and I want to support her in that. So that is where my mindset is with that. So that's just a little bit of a background of what's happening with my husband and my daughter, and that's just a little bit of what's happening. So with my family, we used to always have arguments about different things, a lot of things relating to the way that I chose to live my life, do different things. They were very controlling, the type of people that want to tell you what to do, where to work, what to do, who to marry, how to raise your kids, that sort of thing. And I'm sure a lot of you have parents and stuff like that. They're all well-meaning, but that's the sort of dynamic that I was in. And so that was the dynamic that I was creating, okay? So actually that's all what I had chosen. But after, divine alignment with what I truly am, everything began to change. No longer was anybody telling me what to do because nobody needed to tell me what to do. Everything was already understood, right? So everything that's happening within me at that moment is no longer confusion. It's no longer, hey, what's the opinion of this person or that person? No, it's I create it, I decide. So I choose what I want for myself. So that doesn't give space for anybody else to put in their opinions. And so what happened? All of those opinions stopped. And then what happened? All of those arguments stopped. And then what happened? All of those relationships got better. So everything, again, is happening through you. So if everything's pushed out, all of those people are appearing and mirroring what you are feeling and having inside. That's why it's so important to work on your inner self. And when I say that, I mean therapy, I mean working on trauma, stuff like that. And so when you are a person living a life, you seem to carry a certain linear timeline. You're going from young to old, and in that timeline, you've experienced different things. So sometimes for that timeline, let's say it's moving, the earlier part of the childhood has been difficult, okay? Most people will say that they have had a difficult childhood. And in that childhood, let's say it's a line, and this is the childhood, and this is the adulthood. In that childhood, there's a lot of yuckiness, a lot of trauma, stuff that you're identifying with that happened. It didn't really happen, but you're identifying with it. You're identifying with it that it happened to you. There's no you, and that didn't happen. So when you realize that, that instantly heals itself. But when you're not realizing that, because that's not your experience, you have to go in there. You have to go find therapy. You have to go yourself into that space of all those little spots of yuckiness in your timeline. And begin to work on that, feel on that, and get into that space to where it no longer really bothers you anymore, where it's healed. Okay, and then that will change the other part of your timeline. When you work on this part will change. If you don't work on this part, it'll all be yucky. It'll just continue with yuckiness sprinkled all throughout. But if you go back and can work on these things, then your newer timeline will be a lot cleaner, a lot healthier, a lot more towards wholeness. So that's why I really recommend working on your inner work, and that's working on anything like trauma, anything that has happened to you, your experiences. Even if you deal with anxiety, depression, some kind of a mental illness, dealing with these things. A lot of those come from trauma as well. So if you'd like to work on that, I do offer one-on-one sessions, and you can email me down below. Prior to these sorts of videos and sharing this kind of information, I've worked many years counseling people with mental illness, people that are reaching their goals, people that are trying to self-actualize, all of those things. So if you are interested in that, if there is something in your timeline that you're still wanting to work on, you're more likely going to see a change in your timeline if you work on that yuckiness instead of working only on like inner spiritual work or watching these kind of videos. You will probably have to work on that stuff. And when you work on a few things and heal those, you'll see how easy it is to heal the others. Then you'll be able to start to identity shift or reality shift, whatever you want to call it. So that is a little bit about what I wanted to talk about. Everybody is you pushed out. If it's not literally that way, then you can see it as in a perspective. So everything is colored through your lens. What lens are you looking through? Is it clean? Is it okay? Have the scratches been buffed out of it? Is it the right prescription for you? Is it seeing things the way they truly are? So you need to really examine that. Look at that. Of course, none of this is your fault. You're completely safe and you are loved, and everything is happening for absolutely no reason. So there's nothing to sweat about. There's nothing to worry about. But if you want to have a better experience, I recommend and I encourage you to continue to watch these videos and to try some of these things. Start working on that inner work. Start working on or just changing your mindset, one or the other, and begin to see some changes. If you've seen some changes or if you have some experience with this to maybe share with others, comment down below or ask a question. I'm going to start answering questions during my car chats. Those are when I go pick up my daughter from school. So if you have some interesting questions or you'd like me to make a specific video on something, please go ahead and comment down below. Like, share, subscribe, and come back to watch some more of my videos. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I hope that you'll be back. Thanks for watching.